This is the Volkswagen Tiguan eHybrid, a plug-in hybrid which VW claims is frugal, has up to 50 kilometers electric range and is quick-ish. And to prove it all, VW invited some journalists to race against airplanes. Sounds legit.
I honestly have no clue what Volkswagen wanted to prove asking us to race its PHEVs against Cessnas. The last time a car maker decided to take the media for a ride like this was Toyota during the first Gen Auris facelift. As I recall, the main upgrade was making the handbrake look less like a phallus. That's what they said during the press conference. Well, without using the word phallus, but implying it. Back to the hybrid Tiguan. I decided to use it more or less like you're supposed to use a PHEV. I did my everyday errands and I charged it overnight, and this is what I learned.
This wasn't a particularly busy week for me. I had some meetings downtown, I filmed the beauty shots and the drive-by shots over 2 days. I picked up my dad from the hospital. I went to the shops a couple of times. The usual. The only time I had to go further was an unexpected 50-kilometer trip, which materialized at the end of the day after I depleted the traction battery.
This one day bumped my average fuel consumption from around 2 liters per 100 kilometers up to 3.5. This result improved slightly over the next 2 days, but today it's going to be up again, as my day of filming usually adds 80 to 100 kilometers depending on how interesting the car is. Still, that gives me an average of just above 50 kilometers a day. The Tiguan was parked, plugged in all day on Sunday.
Did I manage to drive 50 kilometers in EV mode? No. My best result was 43 kilometers and the worst was low 30 something. However, on that day I was filming beauty shots and the car was on a lot of the time just standing there. So around 40 kilometers is what you can expect without putting much effort into it. I try to use B mode around the city, which allows me to recuperate some energy and limit the use of brakes. However, I never bothered to precondition the car while it was still charging. Also, I never used the eco mode. I drove in normal mode all the time, except when I filmed the acceleration runs, obviously.
Speaking of acceleration, VW claims the Tiguan eHybrid will do 0 to 100 km per hour in 7.5 seconds. I tried GTE, Sport and normal modes, and I got consistent high 7s. With front-wheel drive, there is only so much power you can put down. After all-wheel drive takes more place and adds weight. The 245 horsepower Tiguan eHybrid already weighs more than 1800 kilograms, which is more than the 320 horsepower Tiguan R. The PHEV's 0 to 100 km per hour time is comparable with the 2-liter 190 horsepower petrol or 2-liter 200 horsepower diesel Tiguan, both with 4-motion all-wheel drive.
Yes, in case of the Touareg R, the PHEV is for power, but in case of the Tiguan, the hybrid is for running your daily errands, and there is nothing wrong with it. Car makers keep telling us that we daily drive an average of 30-40 kilometers, so 50 kilometers range is more than enough. And if you can charge not only at home, but also at the office, you can double this electric range.
According to Odyssey Muir Research Institute, we tend to drive less and less. In 2018, the EU average was just below 12,000 kilometers, a drop from 13,266 kilometers at the start of the new millennium. That's less than 33 kilometers a day. And across Western Europe, increasingly often, employers install charging points for their employees' cars. Even VW in Poland encourages employees to go green and offers charging points at its Polish HQ. Kudos, but did we really need to see the Cessnas?
Charging the Tiguan eHybrid is rather slow, around 5 hours from a regular home socket or 3 hours and 40 minutes from a 3.6 kilowatt wallbox. So unless you have a place to charge at home and or at the office, this car is not for you. EV drivers will stone you for occupying public charging points this long. Once the 10.4 kilowatt-hour traction battery is depleted, the car goes into regular hybrid mode, where the petrol engine and the electric motor work together or interchangeably to ensure optimum efficiency.
You can use the petrol engine as a generator and recharge the batteries on the go, but that will cost you more fuel. You can also set a desired charge level which the car is supposed to maintain. Otherwise, the Tiguan eHybrid is average to drive. Unless you go for the Tiguan R, the Tiguan is a very proper and very boring car. It's a tool to move you and your family around. This variant is focused on making short journeys as efficient as possible.
When configuring this car, save yourself a grand or two and skip the dynamic chassis control, which lowers the suspension by 15 millimeters, and it comes with the 20-inch rims, which are pointless. It knocks the DCC on small bumps, which is a problem in most cars with adaptive suspension. In case of EVs and hybrids, it also spoils the quiet ride experience. Also spoiling the quiet ride experience is the mandatory warning buzz which electric cars have to emit at low speeds in absence of engine noise to warn the pedestrians. And I assure you, on a busy street or on a busy parking lot, nobody will hear it anyway.
The Tiguan eHybrid interior is pretty much the same like the other variants. VW even managed to keep the sliding rear seats. Check out my reviews of the pre-facelift and facelifted Tiguan, links in the description. The only difference is the boot volume. With traction battery living under the floor, there is no additional storage, so the boot volume is down to 476 liters from 615. And one more difference, albeit not related to the interior, the fuel tank in the hybrid Tiguan has 45 liters capacity instead of 58 liters in the internal combustion engine models. Price of the VW Tiguan started €29,855 for the front-wheel drive 150 horsepower petrol with a 6-speed manual in base Tiguan spec. The cheapest diesel will set you back €32,245. For a PHEV you have to go a trim level up to Life. The cheapest eHybrid costs €43,510. If you want similar performance, a 2-liter 190 horsepower TSI4Motion Tiguan starts just below 40 grand, and a 200 horsepower diesel costs €43,340. And yes, they both have all-wheel drive, which the eHybrid doesn't have. So perhaps you will need some additional incentives, which may be available in your area. Are there any? Drop me a comment. This Tiguan eHybrid in Elegance trim with options costs around €50,000.
A plug-in hybrid, just like a full EV, is not a car for everyone. Before you decide to buy one, you need to sit down with a map and a calculator, think how often you drive longer distances, and whether a PHEV will bring you savings you expect. You need a place to charge, preferably at home. Solar panels could make it a more appealing proposition. Does this convince you? Let me know in the comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.